My loyal subjects, I have been petitioned to speak upon the nature of my various homes, my castles, my palaces, and such like. For recently I did speak of the Palace of Nonsuch, and this did incite much interest amongst my loyal and well-beloved subjects. To this end, perhaps I should speak upon those of my palaces and houses which are of particular note, bearing in mind, of course, that I am possessed of some 60 castles, houses, and palaces, although in truth, most are not sufficiently large enough to take my entire court, my courts, my courtiers, my advisors, my musicians, my domestic staff, the cooks, the chefs, the washerwomen, and such like, does mount 1,000 souls, and thus many of my castles, houses, and palaces are not sufficiently large enough. So when I do progress abroad about this my realm, I do oft travel with that which is termed my riding household, a small number of courtiers, advisors, a gentleman of my chamber, and guards. There is but one palace sufficient, in addition to Whitehall, to accommodate all of my court, and that is my delightful river home at Hampton Court. Hampton Court, that delightful riverside residence, did come into the possession of my one-time good friend, Thomas Wolsey, Archbishop of York, in the year of 1515. He did take it unto his ownership from the order of St. John of Jerusalem, and thence did set about converting, enlarging, enhancing that house at Hampton to become a suitable residence for an archbishop. He did enlarge and enlarge and enlarge. In truth, 'twas said that he, then cardinal, was possessed of the most splendid palace in England. 'Twas said that he had modelled Hampton Court upon the directions given to cardinals in Italy for the nature of their great palaces. Perhaps the most significant feature of the history of Hampton Court is how that great riverside house did come into the possession of me, your sovereign lord and king, for it was in the year of 1529 that Cardinal Wolsey did gift Hampton Court to his king. Aye, gift. You may ask, why would a man possessed of the finest palace in England give all away? Well, my loyal subjects, the answer is simple. It was his attempt to stem his fall from grace. For it was the marriage, aye, my marriage to Catherine of Aragon, transacted in that year of 1509. I had indeed married the Spanish cow, for I loved her. But kings, in truth, do not marry for love. They marry to have sons. If a king cannot have a son, cannot have an heir, then all matters as naught. 6 times. 6 times my wife Aragon bore me a child, and all of them, save one, all save one, were dead. That one, the Princess Mary, born in the year of 1516, a wife, nay, a queen, does prove her worth by the bearing of healthy sons. But 'tis a long journey between a child in the womb and one safely in the crib. And Aragon's womb was as barren as a brick. You are all well aware of what then and there took place. The king's great matter, my desire to rid myself of Aragon, my appeals to the Pope for my marriage to be annulled, and then, ultimately, my schism with Rome. If Wolsey had been able to secure that which he did promise, the divorce, the annulment, then all would have been well. But he failed me. He failed me in this one great matter. And as he did fall in grace from your king's eyes, his effort to stem that fall was to gift unto me that great palace at Hampton in the year of 1529. Wolsey did live but 2 years more. He did die in 1530. He never saw the palace at Hampton again. Indeed, he died at Leicester whilst returning to London upon a charge of treason. But these are minor matters. Let us talk of Hampton Court. It was a palace already equipped with the most abundant of accommodation, capable of taking my entire household. Indeed, the state apartments built for the cardinal were fit for any king. All that was necessary was to expand the kitchens. I did build vast kitchens for all of my household, so they may dine bouche of courts, dine at the expense of their sovereign lord and king. And shortly after taking possession of Hampton Court, 'twas my desire that there be a great hall, an enormous hall, whereupon, on a raised dais, I would sit at state occasions and state banquets. 5 years, 5 years to build the great hall. So desperate was I to complete Hampton Court that I did have the builders working in shifts, all of the day and all of the nights. Those at nights working with the aid of candles. And Hampton Court did become the very jewel of all of my houses. It has an interesting history. I look back upon Hampton Court, and there are good times, and there are sads. It was at Hampton Court in October, upon the feast of St. Edward, that my son, the Prince Edward, did first see the lights. My son, my heir, my future. Sadly, 'twas at Hampton Court, some 12 days after the birth of my son, that my beloved wife, Jane, the glorious Jane, the blessed Jane, the honest and pure Jane, was gathered unto God. For 2 years, I did mourn the loss of my Jane. But time does move on for us all. It was at Hampton Court in that year of 1540 that I did first learn of my wife Howard, of her infidelity. For whilst in the chapel royal, whilst in my closet at my stall, Cranmer, Thomas Cranmer, Archbishop of Canterbury, did press upon me by leaving in my stall letters that did tell of my wife's infidelity, that my wife the Queen had lain hither and thither with all manner of lowly men before our marriage, and indeed since. Upon departing from Hampton Court, on receipt of this dreadful intelligence, I did leave Catherine Howard there, and upon the giving of orders for her to be arrested. 'Tis said that she did run screaming along the gallery. 'Tis said by some that even to the present day, the ghostly voice of Howard does echo forth along that gallery as she's been taken into custody. But then there are happier times, for it was in the closet at Hampton Court I was pleased to marry my present wife, the kindly Queen Catherine Parr, and thus Hampton Court, that most splendid of houses, has an interesting history. Of all my 60 houses and palaces, it is perhaps Hampton that I enjoy the most, it being 12 miles from the centre of London upon the river. London being a great place of stinks and pestilence, 'tis oft wise to repair to Hampton to take of the fresh air. So there you have it, my loyal subjects, the story of Hampton Court. And may you, my loyal and well-beloved subjects, live in peace, unity and concord, one with another, and may the Lord our God bless and keep you all. For the subscriber giveaway. The competition is open to all subscribers, old and new alike. Once I reach 250 subscribers on my YouTube channel, I will choose one of those subscribers at random out of that 250 to receive a special prize. The prize is made up of this delightful figure, somebody you may recognise. Together with this prize of this delightful figure, there'll be a selection of merchandise from my theatre show, Divorced, Beheaded, Died. The competition is open to all loyal subjects, where they may be across the globe. All you have to do to have a chance of winning is to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking the link below. So whether you've been subscribing to my YouTube channel since the beginning, or whether you have just subscribed, you all have an equal chance of winning this wonderful prize. And so, good luck, and thank you all, my loyal and most well-beloved subjects, for your continued support. Cheers.